The call comes in at 2:11 a.m. through a maritime distress relay station operated by the Royal Navy of Oman, and for 11 seconds, it is indistinguishable from the dozens of routine position reports and navigational advisories that cycle through the station's communications log on any given night in the Strait of Hormuz. Then the relay operator reads the content and reaches for a different telephone. The MV Celestine Star, a 74,000-ton Aframax crude oil tanker registered in the Marshall Islands and carrying 680,000 barrels of Iraqi crude for delivery to a refinery in South Korea, has just reported a hull strike on its portside bow at frame 24, 14 nautical miles east of the designated separation scheme in the eastern approach lane of the strait. The master's initial report is clipped and precise. Impact at waterline level, no visible surface contact, flooding in the forward void space at a rate consistent with a 2-meter breach, main engines still operational, no fire. He is requesting emergency assistance and has activated his EPIRB. His last stated position is 26.41 degrees north, 57.08 degrees east. He does not use the word mine. He does not need to. Every person reading his transmission within the next 4 minutes reaches the same conclusion independently. At the U.S. Naval Forces Central Command Coordination Cell in Manama, Bahrain, the duty watch officer is on his second communication before the first has finished transmitting. The geometry of the Celestine Star's position, the nature of the damage description, and the location relative to the designated shipping lane produce an immediate operational assessment that generates 3 simultaneous actions. A flash message to the commander, Mine Countermeasures Group, currently embarked on USS Pioneer operating 31 miles to the west. A flash precedence notification to the 5th Fleet's Intelligence Watch Cell, and an encrypted query to the Maritime Domain Awareness System, requesting the track history of every vessel that has transited within 6 nautical miles of the Celestine Star's reported position in the preceding 96 hours. The Celestine Star does not sink. Her crew floods the bow ballast tanks to compensate for the ingress rate, gives the ship a 3-degree stern trim that lifts the damaged frame section partially clear of the waterline, and holds their position while an Omani Coast Guard vessel makes best speed from Kasab. She will survive the night. The question that occupies the next 71 hours of intensive intelligence work is not whether the mine was there. It is how it got there without anyone seeing it placed, and how many more are in the water. The initial survey conducted by the MH-53E Sea Dragon helicopter, launched from USS Pioneer at 3:40 a.m., covers the area around the Celestine Star's position using AN/AQS 24 mine detection sonar in a systematic lane pattern. The survey returns 3 additional contacts within a 900-meter radius of the strike location. All 3 have the acoustic and magnetic signature profile consistent with moored influence mines, specifically with the Iranian Sadaf series contact and influence mine, a domestically produced weapon that the IRGC Navy has deployed in training exercises in the northern Persian Gulf on at least 4 documented occasions in the preceding 7 years. The contacts are at depths between 18 and 26 meters, moored to the bottom on wire tethers, positioned in a pattern that is not random. The spacing, the depth settings, and the placement geometry. 3 mines forming a 280-meter equilateral triangle with the 4th mine, the one that struck the Celestine Star, at the geometric center of the group, reflect deliberate tactical design. This is not an opportunistic deployment. It is a carefully plotted minefield laid in the highest traffic segment of the eastern approach lane. By 6:15 a.m., the Mine Countermeasures Group has 3 additional survey assets on station, and the operational picture has expanded in a direction that transforms the immediate tactical problem into a strategic crisis. The AN/AQS 24 surveys, supplemented by data from an MQ-8 Fire Scout unmanned helicopter running a parallel lane pattern 2 miles to the west, have now identified 23 confirmed contacts and 11 probable contacts across a survey area covering 8 nautical miles of the eastern approach lane. The minefield is not a localized harassment deployment. It is a systematic attempt to close the eastern approach to the strait, the primary inbound routing for the carrier strike groups currently operating in the Arabian Sea in support of Operation Epic Fury, and the only viable deepwater approach lane for the large displacement vessels that carry 20% of the world's oil supply through this choke point every 24 hours. The IRGC has been planning this for longer than the survey team can yet determine. What the survey can determine, with increasing certainty as the contact count rises through the morning, is that the minefield represents a scope of effort. The number of individual mines, the precision of placement, the depth and spacing optimization for maximum barrier effect, that could not have been accomplished in a single night's operation by a surface vessel operating in the lit and monitored waters of an active commercial shipping lane. The mines had to have been placed over multiple nights by a vessel or vessels operating without generating the kind of surface track signature that would trigger a response from the maritime patrol assets running continuous coverage of the strait. The how is the question that the Fifth Fleet's Intelligence Watch Cell is working from the moment the flash notification reaches them at 2:19 a.m. By 8:30 a.m., working from the Maritime Domain Awareness Track history, the AIS records for every vessel that transited the eastern approach area in the preceding 21 days, and the classified radar track archive maintained by the Joint Maritime Surveillance Network covering the strait. The intelligence team has assembled a picture that contains one critical gap. 3 nights, the 14th, the 17th, and the 21st of the month, show a consistent, specific anomaly in the surveillance coverage of the approach lane between 1 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. Not a complete blackout, not a system failure, a degradation. The effective detection range of the coastal radar network covering the eastern approach drops by approximately 40% for windows of 90 to 140 minutes on each of those 3 nights. The degradation is subtle enough that the automated monitoring systems did not flag it. A human reviewer examining the raw performance data against the calibrated baseline specifications would have seen it. No human reviewer examined that data against the calibrated baseline on those nights, because the performance degradation falls within the automated alert threshold by a margin of 4%. 4%. The IRGC planners knew the threshold. They knew where the automated alert boundary was. They degraded the coverage to exactly the level where it would not trigger a flag, and they held it there for the duration of each mining operation. That kind of knowledge, of the specific detection parameters, alert thresholds, and coverage geometry of a classified joint surveillance network, does not come from open-source research or technical exploitation. It comes from a person with access to the operational specifications of that network. The surveillance network covering the eastern approach to the Strait of Hormuz is jointly managed by U.S. Naval Forces Central Command and the Royal Navy of Oman, operating under a bilateral maritime security agreement that has been in place for 11 years. On the U.S. side, the network's operational parameters are classified and accessible to a defined set of personnel within the Fifth Fleet structure and the Naval Support Activity Bahrain technical staff. On the Omani side, the network interfaces with the Royal Oman Navy's Maritime Security Center in Muscat, and the operational specifications of the joint coverage architecture are accessible to a small number of Omani military and civilian personnel who manage the bilateral coordination functions. The access list on the Omani side has never been formally audited by the UAE's partner because the bilateral agreement, in its current form, does not require it. Auditing a partner nation's internal access controls for jointly managed systems is diplomatically sensitive. It has been consistently deferred. The counterintelligence team that the Office of Naval Intelligence deploys to Bahrain by 10 a.m. on the morning of the discovery does not defer it. They have the authority, under the emergency provisions of the 5th Fleet Commander's standing orders, to request access to the bilateral system's complete user log as part of an active force protection investigation. The request goes to the Omani Maritime Security Center at 11:47 a.m. through the bilateral coordination channel. The Omani Naval Attaché in Bahrain briefed on the scope of the minefield discovery and the preliminary intelligence assessment, facilitates the request with a speed that reflects his understanding of what a closed strait means for his country's economy and regional standing. The user log reaches the ONI team at 1:34 p.m. The log covers 90 days of access activity across 31 user accounts with permissions to the joint system's radar performance and coverage geometry data. The analysis takes 4 hours and 11 minutes, conducted by 2 analysts working in parallel against the specific 3-night degradation windows. 29 of the 31 accounts show access patterns that are either inconsistent with the degradation windows or consistent with normal duty functions during those periods. The 30th account belongs to a Royal Oman Navy technical liaison officer, whose access log is unremarkable in isolation. The 31st account belongs to a civilian contractor employed by a maritime technology firm contracted to provide technical support to the Omani Maritime Security Center's radar integration systems. His access log shows 3 sessions, each lasting between 22 and 31 minutes, each initiated between 11 p.m. and midnight on the 13th, 16th, and 20th of the month, the evenings before each of the 3 degradation windows. During each session, he accessed the radar network's performance calibration module, the administrative interface that allows technical personnel to adjust detection sensitivity thresholds, coverage geometry parameters, and automated alert boundaries for the coastal radar arrays. Accessing the calibration module for legitimate maintenance purposes is normal. Accessing it at 11:30 p.m., making parameter adjustments, and logging out is less normal. Accessing it on 3 consecutive pre-scheduled occasions, each followed the following night by a precisely consistent surveillance degradation, matching the adjusted parameters, is not maintenance. It is coordination. The civilian contractor is a 44-year-old Omani national who has held his position with the maritime technology firm for 6 years. His security clearance was processed through the Omani government's standard vetting procedure. His employment history prior to the current position includes 4 years at an Omani shipping logistics firm that, when the ONI team traces its corporate registration history at 7:15 p.m., resolves through 2 intermediate holding companies to a Dubai-registered trading enterprise with documented financial relationships to an IRGC-affiliated procurement network. The same class of corporate structure that has appeared in the financial forensics of 3 previous IRGC intelligence operations targeting U.S. and partner nation military infrastructure in the Gulf region. He has been in place for 6 years. His access to the Joint Surveillance Systems Calibration Module was established 3 years ago as part of a routine expansion of the contractor's technical support scope. He has accessed the calibration module 34 times in 3 years. 31 of those accesses are consistent with legitimate maintenance activities during normal working hours. 3 are not. The 3 that are not correspond exactly to the nights before the mining operations. At 9:02 p.m., 17 hours after the Celestine Star's distress call, the ONI team delivers its assessment to the 5th Fleet Commander. The assessment identifies the probable insider access mechanism, the contractor identity, and the operational significance of the correlation. It also identifies what the assessment team considers the most operationally critical piece of information in the entire picture: the 3 degradation windows and the 3 confirmed mining nights account for the minefield as currently surveyed. But the contractor's calibration module access history shows a 4th session, on the 11th of the month, 9 days before the first confirmed mining night, that predates the operational window entirely. If that session was also preparatory, there may be a second minefield in a different approach corridor that the current survey has not yet reached. The decision made at 9:31 p.m. is to expand the survey scope immediately to cover both approach lanes and the separation zone, a survey area 6 times larger than the current operation, and to do it while maintaining the external appearance that the survey is a routine response to the single strike on the Celestine Star. No public statement about the scope of the minefield. No advisory to commercial shipping beyond a general caution already issued about the Celestine Star's incident location. No action against the contractor that would signal to his handlers that the operational security of the mining network has been broken. He remains under physical surveillance by Omani security service personnel, coordinated through a channel that the Fifth Fleet's intelligence officer has activated without a formal written request. The Omani Director of Military Intelligence, briefed at 8:45 p.m., has authorized the surveillance and has assigned 3 officers from the Counterintelligence Directorate to support the investigation. He has also, in a conversation that is not documented in any written record, communicated to the ONI team lead that the contractor will be in custody before he attempts to transmit. The expanded survey runs through the night with 4 Sea Dragon helicopters, 2 fire scouts, and a remotely operated vehicle deployed from USS Pioneer, working in coordinated lane patterns across the full approach geometry. At 3:17 a.m., the ROV operating in the western approach lane at a depth of 31 meters acquires a visual contact. A moored cylindrical object, approximately 0.9 meters in diameter, with a wire tether running to a concrete anchor block on the sand bottom. The ROV's camera system resolves the object against the database of known mine types. The identification takes 40 seconds. The contact is assessed as an IRISL pattern influence mine, a different variant from the SADAF series in the Eastern Lane, but the same design philosophy. An influence-activated weapon responding to the magnetic and acoustic signatures of large displacement vessels. The ROV continues its survey lane. By 5:40 a.m., 9 additional contacts have been identified in the western approach. The 4th session's preparation was not hypothetical. The total minefield survey, completed at 9:15 a.m. the following morning, documents 47 confirmed mine contacts across both approach lanes and 3 locations in the separation scheme. A deployment that would have effectively closed the strait to deep draft commercial traffic and created a threat corridor for any naval vessel attempting to transit or sweep in support of Epic Fury operations. The operational significance of the timing is not lost on any member of the assessment team. The mining campaign was timed to mature, to reach a density where the threat was too distributed to clear quickly. During the window, when Epic Fury's carrier strike groups would need to transit the strait or operate within range of shore-based weapons in its vicinity. A closed strait, combined with an ongoing strike operation against Iran, would have created an energy market disruption of a scale that multiple economic analyses have assessed as potentially triggering cascading effects on global commodity prices within 72 hours. At 6:44 a.m., the contractor is taken into custody by Omani counterintelligence personnel outside his apartment in Muscat. He is carrying a personal device with an encrypted messaging application and a prepaid satellite communication card that uses a frequency band associated with IRGC clandestine communication protocols. The device is imaged by technical personnel within 90 minutes of the arrest. The imaging recovers 14 months of communication records, partially encrypted, partially in clear text, documenting the coordination of all 4 calibration sessions. The confirmation receipts from his handlers after each degradation window was verified. And, most significantly, a message thread from 18 days ago that references a 5th target window that has not yet been executed. A 5th degradation session, scheduled for 6 days from the date of the contractor's arrest, corresponding to a surveillance gap that would have enabled a 3rd mining operation targeting the separation zone's central channel. The 5th session does not occur. The calibration module access credentials associated with the contractor's account are revoked at 7:01 a.m. The IRGC handlers, whose next scheduled contact window with the contractor is 48 hours away, will not know that the account is dark until their own check-in is met with silence. The mine clearance operation, conducted over 11 days by a task group that eventually includes USS Pioneer, USS Devastator, USS Chief, 2 Royal Navy Hunt-class mine countermeasures vessels, and a Dutch Alkmaar-class MCM ship operating under a bilateral access agreement facilitated in 72 hours through NATO channels, neutralizes all 47 confirmed contacts and 9 additional probable contacts identified during extended survey operations. The strait is declared open to commercial traffic on a provisional basis after 8 days. Full clearance certification, requiring 100% survey confidence across the full approach geometry, is issued on day 14. During the 8-day restricted period, 340 commercial vessels are diverted or held at anchor outside the strait. The economic assessment of the disruption, conducted by the Treasury Department's Office of International Affairs, estimates an energy market impact of $14.3 billion in elevated insurance, rerouting, and delayed delivery costs across the affected shipping calendar. The classified after-action record documents the following. 6 years the contractor was in position before his operational activation. 3 successfully executed calibration sessions enabling 2 completed mining operations. 47 mines confirmed and neutralized across both approach corridors. 1 vessel struck. No lives lost. Full structural recovery. 11 days of clearance operations involving 6 mine countermeasures. Vessels from 4 nations. 1 contractor taken into custody with 14 months of communication records intact. 1/5 mining operation prevented. 0 days the strait was formally closed to U.S. toll naval traffic. And 1 margin, 4%, that sat below an automated alert threshold for 3 mining nights, and might have held there indefinitely if the Celestine Star had not struck the 1 mine at the geometric center of the first group at 2:11 a.m. and transmitted a distress call that put the right question in front of the right team before the network had finished its work. The minefield was not a weapon of last resort. It was the most patient weapon in the IRGC's inventory. 6 years in development, placed by a man who came to work every morning and did his job and accessed the calibration module on 3 designated nights and held the threshold 4% below the alarm line, and trusted that no one would read the raw data carefully enough to see what he had done. He was right for 3 operations. He was wrong for 1 reason. The ship he had helped aim at hit something, and the sea gave her crew enough time to make the call. Patience is the most dangerous component of a long-term deception. But it has a terminal point. And when it ends, every session, every access log, every calibration record, and every communication thread becomes the architecture of its own exposure. The strait is open. The record is complete. The water does not forget what passed through it, and neither does the log.